Okay, this is Rachel's video. It's me. And then we have our people.
Okay. Did you know there are actually 3 different types of cloning? According to the National Human Genome Research Institution, the 3 types include gene cloning, reproductive cloning, and therapeutic cloning. Cloning, by definition, is the process of generating a genetically identical copy of a cell or an organism. For example, the 3 that I mentioned, gene cloning would be the exact replica of a person's DNA strand. Reproductive cloning would be cloning an embryo and putting it into an artificial uterus and bringing that to full term. And then therapeutic cloning involves the extraction of stem cells from a person's own cells. All 3 types are vital to the research that large institutions are making headway with. Though cloning is typically associated with mutilated animals and lab accidents, it's actually come very far as researchers develop and perfect the process, advancing the science for the greater good of the people. Human cloning should be continuously studied because it creates stem cells that are genetically identical to the individual, offers for infertile families a chance to reproduce their very own offspring, and restricting any type of medical procedure is extremely unethical. Cloning should be looked at as a viable option because it's the only lead that helps us further stem cell research for successful tissue and organ transplants. According to the National Institute of Health, stem cells are special organisms within our bodies that have the ability to develop into many different types of cells during early life and growth, as well as serve as an internal tissue repair system all throughout our lives. Research cloning will be necessary in order to produce compatible tissue and organs for patients being treated for stem cell therapy. This basically means in order to overcome the immune rejection problems associated with organ and tissue transplants, stem cells would need to be obtained from the embryos produced in patients' own cells. This life-saving process is only possible through research cloning. Another reason cloning should be continuously advanced is to give infertile families a chance at having kids. For couples who desperately want children but cannot conceive, human cloning can be a viable option for them. Something to note is that the treatments for infertility aren't actually as innocent or successful as they seem. IVF fertilization, artificial insemination, fertility drugs, and surgery aren't always successful and can cause more pain and harm to the individual than good, emotional and physical for both parties involved. Another aspect of this argument against cloning is the adoption process. Though adoption is completely viable and fulfilling in its own way, some families are discriminated against due to institutionalized prejudice, and others can't actually afford the legal processes involved. Reproductive cloning would give people a chance at actually having a family life. Finally, cloning should be continuously studied because it is lawfully unacceptable to restrict such medical knowledge. In a free society like one that you and I live in, people have the right to pursue any scientific and medical investigation within the law. Medical technology has already improved our lives immensely, and we must support the continued process of it. An example where this comes into play would be in severe patient causes. Patients with serious or immediate life-threatening diseases or conditions, the FDA remains committed to enhancing access to promising investigational medicines or treatments. This is called the Right to Try Act and should include all different types of medical procedures, including the cloning process. In conclusion, cloning should be continually developed because it offers infertile families a chance at having children, provides stem cells that are genetically identical to the individual, making tissue and organ transplants 100% successful every time, and hindering any kind of successful medical procedures are socially unacceptable. Regular cloning practices will ultimately change the medical world as we know it, for the better. Caring about such changes like this is essential for societal growth. All I ask is that you carefully consider supporting this medical movement, even if it's just for the good of others. Thank you.
Very good.
Oh, isn't she the best?